All right, and welcome into the Betting Pros podcast. It's time to place your bets for the 2025 NFL Draft. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and I am absolutely buzzing as we enter one of the best weeks on the entire sports calendar. And today, I'm joined by quite the cast of characters, including my colleague, who's had boots on the ground for this entire NFL Draft process, Derek Brown, aka D-Bro. Well, D-Bro, the work has been done. Now it's time to cash in with your knowledge of the rookie class. How you feeling roughly 80 hours out of the action getting going in Green Bay?
I'm so ready for the draft to be here, and then I have so much work before we get to Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's okay. Like we can move it back a week. But no, dude, I am ready for the picks to be here and for the first round to be here.
Yes.
So all the water carrying by big sports media, all the BS, all the smoke out. Can we just? I'm just ready for it all to be gone. I'm ready for the picks to happen and things to be live, boys.
Yeah, the further we get in this process, man, the further, VS you find out there on the internet. Everyone's giving their opinion. We've walked through pretty much the entire position groups for the skill players over on the NFL Draft Show, over on the Fantasy Pros side of things. So excited to break it down from a betting perspective today. We also got two very special guests in-house today to share their NFL betting knowledge, starting with an analyst for 4for4 and the director of business development and betting for the Betsperts group. He's Chi-Town's Connor Allen. Connor, thanks for joining us, man. How are the vibes out there in the Windy City as draft week gets going here?
Yeah, vibes are great. Ben Johnson's in town. They addressed the offensive line. Everyone is just praying that Ashton Genty falls to the Bears. I don't know if it'll happen, but they're praying. But I think things are looking up. The Bears fans, Chicago Cubs are winning. Like finally, they have some winning teams for the last couple of years. Basically, it's been a while.
Love it. It's always a weird vibe for you, I'm sure. Like as you're in Windy City, but you're sweating Denver Broncos picks and bets. It always makes for a weird conundrum for you.
Yeah, no, I would say at this point, I'm so removed from fandom with us just paying attention to every little nuance of everything with every team. I found it really tough to root for a single team. So, I got a Demaryius Thomas jersey for those on video, behind me, rest in peace. But, I was a Broncos fan for a long time. Now at this point, I'm just too much other stuff to sweat and think about. I just can't.
That's what watching too much Drew Lock will do to you, Connor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Literally, yeah.
Also joining us today is the content manager for 4for4 Bets and Betsperts Golf, host of Move the Line NFL, Ryan Noonan. Ryan, thanks for joining us as well and putting up some more Connor today. How are you?
Yeah, more Connor time. I can deal with that in my life. Could be worse. This is my work wife. We've been married for a long time, but again, you can be married to worse people. He's a die easy Broncos fan, so I wouldn't give him too much. He's, again, at this point, like Connor said, at this point, our fandom that brought us to this existence, it still kind of hovers low. It's a low burn. Most part of what we're cheering for week in and week out is wherever the money is. So draft is definitely no different than that too. Although, fandom pop up a little bit. As a Patriots fan, I hold on to that fandom still a little bit. And, when we have a draft pick like we do at the top, those things matter a little bit more than maybe in years past when we were picking at 32 or, trading out of 32 all the time.
Noonan's going to be running naked laps around his neighborhood when they take a guard at 4 over. Oh, excuse me, a tackle at 4 overall.
Like Cole Strange is not that far out of memory, so we'll see what happens again.
The dagger.
I feel you at the fandom, guys, because I'm like, as a Steelers fan this year, I'm like, just don't draft Jalen Milroe and I'm cool. Like let's just keep it chalk here. Grab us a defensive end at the top and I'm okay. Or Jackson Dart, however this thing plays out. On today's program, it will look like this, though. We're going to cover each of these gentlemen's top 5 best NFL draft bets for a total of 15 plays. As a reminder, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, subscribe right here to the Betting Pros YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure you're plugged in over on the Fantasy Pro side of things this week. On Thursday, Friday, D-Bro, Joey P, Fitz, Erickson, Boggs, myself, and many more will be live throughout day 1 and day 2 of the NFL Draft, breaking down each pick from a fantasy football perspective. You're going to keep me busy over on the YouTube end this weekend, D-Bro, with all those hot takes. I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fire, man. The first round, I think the powers that be, they gave me a small break. I think I got 3 picks off in the first round, so I'm on air for 29 to the 32. But I get to go to the bathroom for a second.
Okay.
Like stuff a sandwich into my face before I'm back on air.
you're going to need like Scott Hansen it and just make sure no liquids after like 12 p.m. I think Wednesday night.
Dehydrating and I'm not going to say that I'm going to go the depend route. But it is in play. But it will be severely plus money.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's get started with everyone's number 5 best bet for the NFL draft. Connor, throwing it over to you first. What do you got over here, man?
Yeah, I'm going to go with an exact pick here. A little bit of a long shot. 9th overall pick to be Tyler Warren. You can find this as high as 8-1. Now, it's a little bit unique. I think right now the opinion is that the Saints are for sure taking a quarterback. By all accounts, they don't love Shedeur Sanders. And that's what it seems like is happening. They're not a Shedeur Sanders team. And so the market right there is already inefficient. We're looking at him to be the current favorite right now to be the Saints pick. So I think that leaves a lot of value in other places. Maybe it's Jackson Dart. Feel pretty good that they like Jackson Dart. Is that at 9th overall? I think that it could be a 9th overall, but if it's not, and I think there's reasons that it might not be, Tyler Warren could be on the board. I think defensive line could be in play. The point of this pick is that Tyler Warren's a fantastic talent, probably going to go in the top 10. And so 9th overall, 8-1 on a guy that, I think could be there. Like, I think this is great value. So I think that's an interesting look and a little bit contrarian relative to the rest of the market right now.
Yeah, I've compared Tyler Warren to Taysom Hill and George Kittle if they had a baby, and so it'd be a great place for Tyler Warren to land. And Ryan, sticking with Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State here, 5th place in the Heisman voting this past year. Where do you like him to possibly shake out with your first bet?
Yeah, I was last in with my picks, so I was able to strategically place them in order that I thought would make for, a little production value here, put it right in where it makes a ton of sense. I like what Connor did there. But I want to take the easier route. Connor gave you a little bit of plus money. I think is a great value. I agree. But there are a lot of outs for Tyler Warren inside the top 10, even before we get to the Saints at 9. So right now, laying a little bit of juice, -145. Tyler Warren to go in the top 10. I think they're legit outs. We'll see what happens in the next 48 hours, maybe even at 5. When you look at that roster, that might be a little bit early, but I don't think it's dead. Then you get into, pretty much anyone other than the Raiders. I think the Jets at 7. I think even Carolina at 8, Saints at 9, and then the Bears at 10, I think are all legitimate outs for Tyler Warren inside the top 10, even though we're laying -145, -150, I think, on FanDuel. I don't know, this is the draft season is different, right? This is information based, right? They don't have to go out and play the game. So once you actually start to get a sense of, not that we know the answers to the test, we start to get, formatting all these different outs and the way the board can shake out. I'm a little bit more comfortable. I think Connor agrees. We talk about this on Move a Line. I'm willing to lay on, 200. I'm willing to lay -300 if I think it should be -1,000, right? So laying the -145 in the spot where I feel like there are a lot of outs I'm very comfortable with. So Tyler Warren, top 10, -145, -150. Love it.
Okay. Debro, your thoughts on Tyler Warren potentially coming off the board in the top 10 overall picks? And as well, what's your first bet of the day?
One, I love both these bets. I think there's multiple outs for both these bets. I mean, if you look at Tyler Warren, like 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 4 teams nestled inside the top 10 that are perfect spots for Tyler Warren. And really, the only thing that you need for Connor's bet to cash is that the word gets out that Chicago is dead red to take Tyler Warren. And I'm not saying that the New Orleans Saints trade back. But they could, if they're not in the 9 slot, because we know Mickey Loomis loves to trade up. He will not trade back. Go Google it, people. It's not going to happen. So if the Saints aren't going to stick and pick at 9, if they're not even the team in the 9 spot, the only thing you need to hit for Connor's bet specifically is that a team says, screw that. You're not getting Tyler Warren at 10. We're trading ahead of Chicago at 10. And he goes 9th overall. So I love both those bets. But I'm going to go with something a little bit, I'm not going to say it's popular chalk, but total running backs in round 1 over 2.5. And right now you get this at DK at +170. I think that as we go through the week, this bet is going to move to maybe not steamed up enough to where it's like even or maybe -110, but I do think it's going to move the more that we get news out this week. There's already been a lot of buzz that maybe it's not Amarion Hampton. Maybe it's Travion Henderson going to Denver at 20. And if that happens, then you're looking at all we need is just that one running back. And there's multiple outs there, but like Travion Henderson specifically, let's just say that domino falls. He goes to 20 at Denver. There's a bunch of other teams. That's also not like we're making assumptions that if he goes to 20, maybe it's a fallout of maybe we get a Marion Hampton going to Dallas at 12 or up the board. So either way, I think there's multiple outs for this to hit. Really, the linchpin of this pick is that Travion Henderson makes it into round 1. I don't know any of the running backs that we're really talking about that have the buzz, but he's getting a lot of buzz this week and last week of going not only just to Denver, but going round 1. So really, that's the domino that we need to fall here. And then I think you're going to see a team make a move for Hampton, whether we could talk about maybe it's Pittsburgh. I mean, they got the history. I know everybody's like, oh, they won't do it again. But I mean, there is a history of them paying first-round capital for a running back. You could say the Chargers, and again, I know they have Najee, but he's only on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So telling me that, Roman and Harbaugh want to run the ever-loving hell out of the ball. They want 2 big running backs to do that. Or we could see Hampton, another team that's like still in the first round that could be connected to a running back, whether it's Henderson or Hampton or somebody else. Washington Commanders at 29. If they don't trade back, they're a team that it could either go one of a few different. I also was going to add Washington to go maybe safety pick, but that's gotten steamed up a little bit very quickly. I think Washington, you're looking at 3 big needs on that roster. It's running back, it's cornerback, and it's safety. So if they feel like they can address 2 of those 3 needs later in the draft, maybe they go running back round 1. But I'm curious, Noonan and Connor, how do y'all feel about the 3 running backs going around 1?
We played it. We played it last week. So
love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah, also that the Commanders bet too is 10-1 right now. Commanders pick a running back is 10-1.
Wow.
I think that's great value. I totally agree with the Henderson handicap there. Or if Hampton's there, I mean, it would surprise me a little bit if anyone else besides those 3 snuck in, but I mean, no one was projecting Ricky Pearsall or Xavier Legette as first rounders either last year in a class that they thought, wide receiver class, they thought was deep. The running back class is really strong at the top of the second and has a couple of guys that maybe they sneak in. Maybe the Commanders prefer someone else. So yeah, I think that 10-1 is a great little add-on, a little bonus bet here, not an official bonus bet to D-Bros bet.
Okay. All right. Do you want to boost your bets? New FanDuel customers, you can bet $5 to win $250 in bonus bets. If that first bet hits, just head to bettingpros.com/FanDuel to get started. That's bettingpros.com/FanDuel and make your plays on FanDuel today. D-Bro, sending it over to you, man. You have a ton of bets in this team first position drafted market. Where are you going here?
All right. So I am going to go a little bit off the board here. Sorry, I'm double checking myself where I'm at. I'm even losing my place in my show sheet here. I think this is one of the markets, like looking at first position drafted, where I'm really hammering these markets right now, because I think there's a few obvious ones here to where, and I want to bring this one up early because I think it is a just standout bet of the Buffalo Bills drafting a cornerback with their first pick in the NFL draft. They are in a perfect spot where you're looking at the back end of the first round and where the cornerbacks probably go off the board at the back end of the first round, top end of the second round, especially with, outside of Maxwell Harrison, a lot of these like Will Johnson, his testing wasn't great. So maybe he falls down the board. You're looking at the corners kind of get pushed a little bit here. But you look at the Bills roster and I know people are going to say, well, dude, they just brought Tre'Davious White back. You see year after year after year, teams sign basically kind of safety plans or safety nets as far as players. A lot of teams will do this at the running back position, but they'll also do this at other positions. And I think Buffalo is basically doing this with cornerback right now. Like bringing Tre'Davious White back on basically a prove-it deal. I don't even know if he makes it out of camp. So that doesn't mean anything for me outside of maybe we do get the market to move. Because right now it's a plus 275 on DK. Maybe we get it to move back into like the plus 300 era of but whether or not, I still love this bet because you're staring at the roster right now. They shipped off Kyer Elam because basically they're like, okay, we've tried this and tried this. It didn't work. They have Dane Jackson, Cam Lewis are either one of those guys we're looking at. Like they know what they have in those guys or what they don't have. And are they going to be walking into week 1 going to war with one of those guys or maybe even Tre'Davious White opposite Christian Benford? I don't see it, man. Like to me, the Buffalo Bills, this should be the chalk pick. This should be at like plus 100 and only because it hasn't gotten talked about enough and we're giving other outs to like people are like, okay, maybe they go safety, maybe they go other directions with this. But like, to me, it's like, I think the odds on this are absolutely wrong. This should be closer to plus 100.
Yeah, I mean, great call. I would have probably had this on my list, Debo, if I would have beaten you to the show sheet here. So I think it's a great bet. I think it's mispriced. It should not be close to 3-1. I think defensive line's probably in play as well, but I think we're a little bit offline in terms of where the market price is. Look, the Rams need a lot of safety or like secondary help as well, right? Tre'Davious White was on that roster last year and he couldn't find his way on the field. That's how bad he played last year. This is not your slightly older uncle's Tre'Davious White. This is a very, very different version at this point. Dane Jackson, I would have ahead of him. They had Cam Lewis last year. Cam Lewis more of a nickel, kind of inside in the slot guy. So they need a perimeter corner, and I think it's a great spot for it. So I think it's a great call out, almost 3-1. Good look.
Ryan, you're staying in this market, and you're heading down to Dallas trying to get in the head of Jerry Jones. What are you thinking the Cowboys do?
Yeah, I pretty much going to live mostly in this market. I think it's a great market to take advantage of because I think there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of just assumptions in this market, but really right now, wanting the assumptions that I think is correct. We can get into semantics with the Ted Hive, the Golden, and all this stuff. I think Debro aligned. I'm kind of working on Connor. I think I got him a little bit more to our side. Debro took him a little bit. We got him over here, but we basically haven't seen, I think, a mock that's worth its weight in the last week or two that has Dallas doing anything other than taking a receiver. You can argue about which one it's going to be, but they're going to take one, right? And right now, minus 115 on DraftKings, Caesars or FanDuel, minus 120. First position drafted for Dallas, going to be a wide receiver. They need something to kind of help alleviate all of the weight that falls on CeeDee Lamb's shoulders. And that depth chart is pretty poor. I feel like this should be, maybe closer to maybe minus 200 at this point. So Love basically we're getting, 50-50 odds on them to take, wide receiver. We're just not seeing anything else mock there. I don't think this is a running back spot. I don't think really the ones that they want to take are going to be worth it or going to be there at all. So I'm happy to lay the minus 115 for Dallas to go receiver.
Would you hedge it all maybe with a tight end as well? I haven't seen it mocked at all, but I felt like if Warren would fall here, he would be a great pass catching option, or maybe they reach for Loveland. So would you hedge it all, or are you just laying, because you're going to probably have to lay a unit or two down on this to see some profit. So are you just sticking with wide receiver? Do you see any value there at tight end, which at one point was around that 10-1 range?
Yeah, I mean, I already, we already got Warren going to the top 10.
Okay.
Right? It could be a Loveland spot, right? Or he's going 9 with the Saints, right? We already have that money in the bag. So yeah, not a hedge spot for me. You just not. I mean, I think the draft's a little different. I think it is a spot where you're not necessarily hedging, but you're looking to take advantage of plus money outs in play against. But I think is just maybe some poor assumptions to Debro's point earlier. But I think I'm fine with laying the minus 115. No problem.
If I was going to get wild, I would go the plus 800 at running back, like a Hampton spot. But outside of that, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Connor. I know you also have thoughts on this wide receiver class. Kind of what we were just talking about. Is Matthew Golden your wide receiver one, and do you think he will be the wide receiver one off the board come Thursday night?
Yeah, I want to be pretty clear here. I don't think that Matthew Golden is like a better wide receiver necessarily than Ted McMillan. This is not my wide receiver one.
Okay.
I think that both are very much fine and incredibly different. Now, based on the way mock drafts are going, based on what sharp people have been saying, whether it's Daniel Jeremiah, whether it's other people, they basically said that this is closer to a coin flip. Right now, we're seeing Matthew Golden prices like plus 150, plus 160 with first wide receiver drafted. Now, based on what I've heard from Dallas is that they prefer Matthew Golden. For one reason or another. CeeDee Lamb, they viewed it like Golden as just being able to stretch the field a little bit more, open it up for CeeDee Lamb, et cetera. So, could Ted McMillan go before 12? Absolutely. Could he still be the pick at 12? Maybe. But right now, I lean towards Golden being the pick. And so if that's the case, like plus 160 is pretty interesting to me. Now, again, I think if you need an alpha wide receiver one, I think I would much rather take the dice roll on Ted McMillan than Matthew Golden. But they kind of already have that in CeeDee Lamb. So it seems like there's also some weird buzz about Jonathan Mingo that they traded a 4th round pick for, of like being kind of like a big bodied guy for them. Now, who knows? That could be nothing. I mean, of course, again, personally, I think the guy sucks, but whatever. It's like, it's not our world, it's their world. And that's, it's Jerry's world out there in Dallas. So I think that it's going to be Golden at 12. And right now it's plus 160 for first wide receiver, even if they do pass on him.
Okay. Debro, what are your thoughts on Golden potentially going off the board here? And then please take us to your next wager as well, which includes a team to draft a wide receiver, one that Matthew Golden very familiar with down there in Houston.
Yeah, first of all, I love the Golden pick. The fact that we're getting plus money on this is fantastic. He's been in my mocks. Like every mock that I've written, Matthew Golden has been going to Dallas. I think he's a perfect schematic fit. And if you want to also just not so much the tea leaves of just like, okay, Dallas takes a wide receiver, go back and look at the archetypal wide receiver that they tried to put opposite CeeDee Lamb before with Brandon Cooks. Matthew Golden is much closer to that archetype of player than you're looking at Tet McMillan. So I think Golden is going to Dallas. I'm all with this bet. I don't think it should be plus money at this point. So absolutely with it. And transitioning over to another team that I think could not shock people, but I think we're getting really good odds on a team that could go wide receiver if they don't go D-line in the first round. I think everybody is mocking, and I'm not saying that it's wrong because it could happen, O-line to the Houston Texans in round one. Guys, there's a world we could be living in, and I don't think it's insane, where the Houston Texans feel pretty good about their offensive line. I'm not saying that they should. I'm just saying look at all the moves that they made this offseason, bringing in Cam Robinson, trading away Tunsil. You still have Titus Howard. You still have Juice Scruggs. They've added Ed Ingram. They've added Trent Brown. They still have Blake Fisher, who they took as a second-round pick in 2024. Juice Scruggs as a second-round pick in 2023 to play center. Like, I look at this team, and while we're all saying, okay, no, they need offensive line, look at what all the moves they've made and they haven't made this offseason, Houston could feel good about their offensive line. And if that is the case, which I think is firmly in play, if they didn't sign Cam Robinson, I would be, okay, fine. I'm going with the masses. I think they're going to take O-line in round one. But bringing in Cam Robinson, I think, is very, very telling. Along with all, and I didn't even talk about they also signed Laken Tomlinson. They have multiple outs where basically Houston can say, it might not be sexy, but they've been out there in the streets talking about we want continuity and chemistry out of the O-line outside of like big names. We think them playing together as a unit is more important. So if that's the case, they're not going O-line in the first round. And so that's why I think them going wide receiver at either plus 400, a defensive line of plus 600, both of these are firmly in play. And I think the odds, because all of the smoke and the steam and the offseason has pushed people to think that Houston will go offensive line in round one. I think it's wrong, boys. And I think we're getting really good numbers on both of these positions. And again, stacking up team needs. One, we know wide receiver is a huge need for this team. Christian Kirk, at this point of his career, look, great move by the front office to get him on this roster. Can we truly think he's going to be healthy at this point of his career to be healthy for 17 games, much less even 12 games? I think it's suspect. Tank Dell, I don't even know if we see him on an NFL field even this calendar year. I would actually be betting that we do not.
Right.
And if that's the case, we got Justin Watson, John Mechie, Braxton Berrios. Anybody feeling great about any of those names? No? Okay.
No.
So looking at that, you could connect the easy tea leaves to Emeka Ibuka, reuniting him. He'd be a good fit for Houston.
Oh, yeah.
But if they don't go that route at wide receiver, I still think wide receiver is in play at plus 400. And again, going back to D-line here, I mean, dude, Sheldon Rankins, Tim Settle, both of these guys are on one-year contracts. I think D'Amico could also take the card and be sprinting it up for a D tackle because, again, lining all of this up where you put team needs and the draft spot in the mid-20s, that's the tackle spot in this draft. That's tackle or corner or O-line. And everybody's attaching O-line to them. I'm just not with it. I'm not with it with the moves they made, and the odds that we're getting on these two other positions are just too good for me to pass up. And I think Houston presses the button for one of these. So for me, this is kind of a spray the board situation. If you hit on either one of these, you're still very, very happy.
Derek, if Ibuka is gone, is there a potential that they would maybe, I don't want to call it a reach, but maybe go down the board and grab someone like a Jaden Higgins or an A.O. Maynard? Do you think, like, because those guys, I know Alec was right around that 40-1 mark to go in the first round. I think I was seeing Higgins around 60-1 to go in the first round. Would you be interested in a flyer at all there if you think the Texans and maybe some of these other back-end first-round teams get aggressive at the wide receiver position?
I think if that's the case, I would, if it's still on the board, I would still take them to draft a wide receiver first.
Okay.
But I think you're looking at more of like That would probably be a Houston trade back scenario. Then you're looking at a team like if Igbuka's gone, you're looking at a team that probably says, okay, maybe we still go wide receiver. So look, the bet's still in play, but maybe we trade back out of the first round because again, we're looking at how the draft could sift out in the back end of the 20s. That's another good spot with all the smoke we're hearing about maybe Cleveland, maybe the Giants, maybe one of these teams comes up for a quarterback. If Houston is dead red on taking a wide receiver and Igbuka goes early, then Houston, you're looking at maybe the wide receiver bet still cashes, but maybe it's them drafting a guy at the top end of the second and not first.
Yeah, good call out there. Ryan, sticking in this first position drafted by Team Market, what do you have for our friends out there in the great city of Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think this is another spot where there's just a lot of consensus around everyone mocking a tight ends to the Colts.
Every time, yeah.
I can see it, right? There's a case to be made. There's a reason it's happening. Are we sitting here thinking right now that the reason the Colts have been kind of spinning their tires is because they don't have a viable tight end outside of Mo Ali Cox? Is not the problem, right? And they love to run the football. Whatever they're going to do at quarterback.
Have some respect for Kylan Granson, please.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, hey. Big Will Mallory guy when he was in Miami. They've kind of sprayed the board and tried to take shots over the last handful of years, and it hasn't really worked. There's so much talk about people being in love with these tight ends going higher, right? Every time you get one of these cryptic, big media accounts putting out hey, everyone loves the tight ends. They're going to go earlier than you think. We already made the case for Tyler Warren. There could be a case for, hey, one team likes the medicals and it's fine with the Loveland medicals, and he goes early. He goes earlier. You could get to a spot where one of the top two tight ends isn't even on the board for the Colts when they get here at 14. Right. And we know they kind of have some thresholds athletically what they're looking for. And they also have a need in the interior of their offensive line with Will Fryers moving on in free agency. So I like plus 320 for the Colts' first pick to be an offensive lineman. Gray Zabel in particular fits their athletic testing. Right. We've heard some discussion around Tyler Booker out of Alabama does not fit their profile for athletic testing in terms of where they want to have that RAS score and that threshold. Zabel really does. You could have some spots where maybe he can transition on the outside if you move on or make some shifts over the next couple of years. So I like the 320. I like the price there. Again, kind of just flying in the face of the assumption that they just are an absolute home run tight end team. And I think maybe they could pass on the tight end. And I think based off of some of the stuff they were hearing, both guys might be off the board by the time we get to that spot as well.
Yeah, I like this call a lot, man.
That.
Ryan Kelly also went with Fries to Minnesota. So there's definitely a hole in the interior of that offensive line. Connor, what are you feeling about this bet in particularly? Will you be tailing your colleague here? And what is your third favorite bet here for the NFL draft as well, please?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting look, especially the call out of Warren potentially going 7 and then Loveland going 10. People have mentioned that as a possibility multiple times. So yeah, again, there's probably not going to be another tight end draft in the first round. Mason Taylor's gotten some late first round buzz, but no shot he's going to 13. So
he's plus 125 now for first round. That feels tight for Mason Taylor.
I don't see him going round 1. I want to be firmly on record.
A lot of those odds are fake odds because they're one-way market. Yep. So they just bet into and then they just keep moving the odds one way and there's no buyback the other way because there's no. You can't bet the no. Yeah. I would gladly lay minus 150 no on Mason Taylor or whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Minus 175.
Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 board is doing a lot of carrying the water for that.
Just totally. Saying. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, agreed with Noonan there. I think that's a good look. A bet that not going to be for everyone here. Minus 295, as high as minus 320. I'm going to go under 4.5 corners drafted in round 1. Just going through it real quick. Travis Hunter technically counts as a corner. Will Johnson, his draft stock is all over the place. He might be sliding a little bit. Jahdae Barron, some teams view him as basically a nickel-only corner. There's rumors about him being Denver Mime a couple weeks ago. He's probably going to be available in the 20s is what someone said. Now he's gotten hype the last couple of days. He might go earlier than that. But the point is the range on those two guys is really wide right now. I mean, we're talking 6 to 23, 25. And so I think one of them might fall a decent amount. And then you're looking at both Maxwell Harrison and Trey Amos have to get in to lose this bet. So you need basically you're talking about 3+ corners in the last 7-8 picks. And I know you mentioned the Bills have somewhat of a need for sure. I think that the Rams could definitely go that way too. There are potentials, but they all have to go that way. That's the thing. It's it's not there's definitely outs for the over to hit, but it would take a lot. I think there's some off-field stuff with Harrison too that Yeah, he ran fast. Was he that good of a corner? TBD. There's some off-field stuff that's probably taking him off some teams' boards. And then Amos, I mean, like, he's like 50-50, I would say, outside looking in, maybe in the first round. Like,
Sure.
it's just a lot to get there. So I like this under 4.5, even at like crazy juice. I just think it should be like even higher. Like, it should be probably like minus 500, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's a mimosa right there, man. That is a heavy glass of juice. But Derek, like, I kind of like don't hate the play. Maybe it's something we can parlay with something else too to get those odds down, because like, I think if all things were perfect in this world, we'd have, if Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame was coming off a torn ACL, same with Siobhan Revel Jr. coming out as ECU. Like, those are two of the, I think, the top cornerback prospects if health was given. But I think with their injuries and everything else Connor laid out there, it feels pretty safe here to lay that minus 295.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the other thing. Like, what if Travis Hunter gets announced as a wide receiver and he doesn't count as a corner? That's another out here. Like, I mean, I think, like, it's possible, but Andrew Berry has been on, like, if he goes to the Browns, he has been very much 10 toes down that he's a wide receiver. So if that gets changed in something, we also have the out there. But I think, dude, for me, it's the Will Johnson, like him testing poorly and him falling down boards. I think that's where you're looking at, like, if we knew Will Johnson was locked in, like Will Johnson was going to go as high as maybe 5 or 6 or even, top, like if he goes top 12, like 11th to San Francisco, I think considering his poor testing, like now he maybe slides into the mid-teens, maybe the 20s. So if he slides, I think you're looking at the rest of the corner market might slide, because if he's not off the board, a team is like, well, I mean, maybe an Atlanta or an Arizona says, well, instead of like, you got Will Johnson when there's Jahdae Barron, like maybe it pushes the rest of the corners down. So I think you're looking at just how the corners are stacking up, the corner market in general. Harrison, I agree with everything that's been said. Like, I don't think he's a first-round player. I think he ran fast, and that's what got the buzz, but I don't think it's sticking in the markets, and I don't think he's going to be a first-round player. Ravel coming off the ACL. I think there are some teams at the back end of the first that could go corner, but again, you need all of these teams like Connor brought up here. Look, I understand the juice, but I love this bet.
Okay. By now, most of you have probably already heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy football team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it yet? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is about. Free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's really not. And the best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy Front Office is that it takes no more time than a regular fantasy football league. It just requires a bit more strategy. If you think you're among the fantasy elite, well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your GM skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use the promo code FANTASYPROS to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Again, that's promo code FANTASYPROS to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. All right, I'm throwing it back to Connor here. Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to be on the board at pick number 21. Do they go quarterback or do they go a different way here, Connor?
Yeah, I tend to think that they don't go with quarterback here. After seeing some of what the local beat reporters were saying, I'm kind of combining like a need with what they were saying with just kind of my own opinion here, and combining all that. I like them to go defensive line or edge, plus 225 here. So it's not only that they need that, it's that there's going to be a couple of them there. I mean, you're looking at guys like maybe Walter Nolan, maybe Derek Harmon. There's guys who will be there in that range for them potentially. And then maybe, Noonan's guy, Kenneth Grant. I mean, Kenneth Grant could be in play there too.
You're going to leave out Kenneth Grant. I was going to reach through the camera.
Dude, I was just going to say, I was like, how did he just bring these guys up and not mention Kenneth Grant? What are we doing?
Yeah, of course. So Kenneth Grant, I mean, he should have been first on the list. My apologies, Noonan.
Thank you.
And to the rest of the Kenneth Grant hive, it's can't get away from that. That and him and Ted McMillan are two of Noonan's, OGs. So, I'm sure both are in play at every single pick on the entire board. But no, I think Kenneth Grant here is an interesting look. Plus 210 to the Steelers team. Like, it's kind of like this, like some of the other markets of like, okay, well, QB right now is like one of the favorites or co-favorites. Like if they're not going QB, I fully believe that they, maybe they're a Jackson Dart team. I've heard Milrose team. We've heard very different things about the Shedeur Sanders thing. We heard like immediately after like no shot they pick him, and then it was like, oh, actually he's Mike Tomlin's favorite player ever. Like, that was like the quote that came out like right after. What do I believe? I have no idea. All I believe is that they're probably not going to repeat what they did with Kenny Pickett, just sitting there and taking a quarterback at 21 who maybe shouldn't warrant it. So I think, again, maybe it's all smoke. Maybe they love a guy, but I mean, I just have a tough time thinking that like, if you love a quarterback, you're not trading up for him in some sense or another. Like you're not trying to leap a couple of these teams, get up there, especially again, like Debro mentioned about Jackson Dart at 9. Like if you're a Jackson Dart team, if you're the Steelers, I mean, 21 to 8 or 7 is not that untenable. A lot of these guys want to trade down. So I just have a tough time. If they're standing pat, I don't see him taking quarterback, which leaves value to the rest of the board. So I think D-line makes a ton of sense there based on what the beats are saying and the options that'll be available.
Listening to Mark Caboli, those boys out there. So I appreciate that, Connor. And, we heard Aaron Rodgers last week on PMS say still very much, well, I don't know what the exact saying is, like attached to nothing. And still, but it feels like he is going to be the Steelers quarterback if he's going to play. That's kind of the feeling I got. He met up with DK Metcalf, takes a Chevy Malibu down from the Butler Airport, drives in to the facility there, has a great meeting with the Steelers on all accounts. Ryan, any thoughts on what the Steelers could do? And also, what do you think the Broncos are going to do right in that same range at pick number, I believe, 20 overall?
I think the Steelers are live for a quarterback, but what we're doing is we're banging into a market that should be priced more efficiently. So I love Connor's look there. You read, there's one of the spots where we typically get a little bit more insight. Those local beats in Pittsburgh are historically pretty plugged in. I know there's been a front office change and definitely some stuff that's a little bit different with Con and GM. But I think it should be priced more as closer to a coin flip than where it is now. So I like the look as well. And I'm glad we got Kenneth Grant, his flowers where he belongs. He's the best Michigan defensive prospect in this draft.
No.
The best.
He's the biggest free.
He's the best. He is the best.
Oh man.
So Mason Graham is going to being considered in the top 10 because of what Kenneth Grant did next to him for a couple of years.
Wow.
Okay. So
I love it.
Pull him out, and we're going to see Kenneth Grant shine. I'm telling you, big boy can get it done. So
I love it.
All right. Denver's taking a running back, guys. Right? Like, they're taking a running back. It's a plus 110. I don't know who it's going to be, but they're taking one of them. Right? It's not going to be Ashton Genty. But actually, there's some talk about them even trading up. Right? They might be the Ashton Genty team because they trade up to get him. And when you listen to Sean Payton talk, it's really been all off season. I think he kind of likes his wide receiver room. It's next on the board in terms of pricing. I don't think he's going there early. They might go there at some point, but it doesn't sound like a guy to me that feels like I need to go ahead and address this position immediately. They could maybe add interior defensive line. It's a sneaky good roster. It's not really even a need for them, right? So they want a running back. I think tight end was very much a play before they made the Evan Ingram move. This team needs a running back. They're taking one. It could be inside the top 10. They could take the third at 20. Reddick, we could cash our 3 running back bet at pick 20, but they're taking one of these dudes and we're getting plus money. It's probably my favorite draft bet right now.
Why is this plus money? Like, why in the hell is this plus? Like, does anybody have any ideas on that? Like, I was staring at this bet. Like, this is one of the ones that I was looking at tossing on the sheet here. And I was like, why is this plus money? I legitimately don't know. Like, we have so many other bets have been steamed. Denver, like, point me to a mock in the entire conglomerate, the aggregate, that has Denver going with any other freaking position in the first round outside of running back. Okay, since that mock does not exist, why the hell is this plus 110? Why?
I don't know. Let's make some money. I don't know.
Same. This is the first bet that people should be making. I love it.
My first mock draft did have them going tight end, but that was before Evan Ingram kind of came to town. And I think ever since then, that was kind of the domino that's really felt like they are going with a running back here. So whether that's Henderson, whether that's Amari and Hampton, Ryan is calling out Denver to select that first position, being a running back plus 110. D-Bro, hand it over to you with the Philadelphia Eagles. Is Howie going to once again just get the steal of the draft at the back end of the first?
Howie's going to do Howie things. And I know a lot of people are saying, man, it's so hard to pin down what the Eagles are going to do. And there's a lot of ways that they can go.
Lost a lot on that defensive line, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, but the thing about it is they could easily address that in the second round and stuff. Like, there's a lot of ways that they can go here. I am going to take the plus odds and a position that I think is just glaring for need. I think the Eagles go with their first player drafted at cornerback, and it's plus 425. And if you look at how this roster stacks up, I mean, losing Darius Slay was huge. Opposite Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, these are the names that the Eagles are staring down, maybe starting in week 1. Perry Nickerson, probably not going to happen. Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, really? We think that's where the Super Bowl champions are going to have starting opposite these two other studs at corner? So like people a lot will say, yeah, but I mean, the Eagles just double tap corner last year. Okay, yeah, but it doesn't mean that it's still not a need. And I think you're looking at it like, again, looking at just obvious team needs and fits and draft positions and where they're at sitting at the back end of the first round. Again, this is a team that could still trade back if one of those teams does come up for a quarterback and Howie does Howie things and he accrues more picks. And then he goes to the top end of the second round and he takes one of these guys. Maybe we get a precipitous fall for one of these cornerbacks that should have gone in the first round. I'm not saying that Will Johnson falls out of the first round, but considering his testing, would any of us be just like massively shocked that happened? Not necessarily, considering everything. If teams say, okay, no, we're going to go other directions here. So again, we're getting 2 bets to hit. Maybe we get the Eagles taking a corner. Maybe it's not even in the first round. And we get Connor's bet, the under on cornerbacks in the first round. So parlay them together however you want to play this. But I think the Eagles are going to address cornerback, and I think it's with their first pick.
Okay. I wanted to remind everyone real quick before we get to our final bets to download the free Betting Pros app for iOS and Android. With Sportsbook Sync, you can automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport, bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. Create a custom betting system and find winning trends and profitable opportunities. You can actually get a 7-day free trial of Betting Pros Premium by downloading the app at bettingpros.com/apps and using the code JUICE, JUICE. Again, that's code JUICE, and activating your trial on the upgrade screen. All right, we got a final few bets here. I'm going to throw it back to you, Connor. What are you thinking the Green Bay Packers do with their first pick? Is Gunty going to once again find a diamond in the rough?
Yeah, a bit of a contrarian take here, but I'm going to go with the Packers to select a wide receiver first. I know that has not been their move generally. I know that they've been against it, but they've also pushed back on that publicly a little bit. They've been like, well, it's not like we're trying to say no wide receivers first. It's just none's fit what we wanted to do. And now they have a guy who, again, maybe won't be on the board, but I think that there's 2 options for him here. I think that Egbuka would be great for them. They've talked about potential fit there, but Ted McMillan, if he is there, that is a run to the podium pick and fit with this Packers team. I think they could trade up. I think that if McMillan falls past 12, I think that they could trade up for him because I can't imagine a better fit for McMillan with Jordan Love just like aggressively pushing the ball downfield with fitting in tight windows. Like it would just be such a perfect fit. And the Packers need like an alpha wide receiver one so bad. They have a bunch of other guys that can play like great roles. Like Jaden Reed's fantastic out of the slot. Christian Watson would be a great burner. Like they have, Dotavian Wicks, like we want him to be awesome and his metrics look good, but he just can't catch the damn ball and can't like it's just not clicking with him in Love. So like you bring in a guy like Tet and it would be awesome. Some local Packers beats have talked about him being like the absolute number 1 on like their board from everything that they know. So I think that if he's there or if they trade up for him is in play, it's talking about 7-1. So like it's something that we know that they need. We know that there could be like multiple guys there. Again, I don't think Tet fully falls to 23, but like trade up again. It's the whole reason we have like 10 of our 15 bets are like first position drafted that we've talked about today. It's like if they trade back, if they trade up, if you directionally know which way they want, lean into a little bit of volatility. I think that we can get some value there.
I love that call out, Connor. And then the other thing that I'll tie to this, because I think there's 2 other glaring positions that the Packers could go with. We might be kind of like sideways getting the answer on one of these while not getting it. I know everybody's talking about, if everybody saw the news that dropped, and depending on when this episode drops, like this could be old news, but like Jordan Love out there in the streets caping up for keeping Jair Alexander, so maybe corner, which has been like the heavy, like, okay, the Packers are going to go edge or they're going to go corner. I mean, maybe we're quietly hearing that kind of get pushed down the priorities if he does stay. So if that's the case, this wide receiver bet is mispriced.
7-1. Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking maybe earlier in the process when people were still thinking maybe Luther Burden would be a first round pick. I was thinking maybe A.O. Manor could sneak into the first round. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So I still think, though, the Packers need a receiver, boys. Like Romeo Doubs, he has a little bit of character concerns, it seems like, after last year's suspension. We're not even going to see Christian Watson for probably all of 2025 as well. So definitely a position of need there. Ryan, take us down to Miami. We haven't heard a lot about Miami this entire draft process. They've kind of been like that redheaded stepchild that no one really wants to talk about after kind of a poor 2024. What happens here in this draft in Green Bay on Thursday night?
So I make this joke all the time on Move the Line, and it's kind of a bit, and it's a little bit of hyperbole, but actually it's true this time. The last time the Dolphins won a playoff game, Connor wasn't even in grade school yet. It's been that long since
Miami year? What's the year?
Has won a playoff game. It's been 24 years.
Okay, I was alive.
That's not saying that Connor's young. Okay, I just want to throw that out.
No, I'm not. Yeah, that's crazy.
Shade with that, Noonan.
No, so it's a team that has a ton of needs. So this streak's not ending this year, right? So it's not ending this year. There's a lot of ways that they could go. Offensive line is a problem. They seem to love edge rushers, but Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, they still have Bradley Chubb on the roster. They have some bodies there. What are they doing in the secondary? They're going to trade Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
Again, not Jalen Ramsey. Again, your slightly older uncle's Jalen Ramsey again to make the same joke again. But he's still a starter. We'll get Storm Duck. It's a real person. He's going to take real NFL snaps. He's going to play for them. He has to. But should he be your corner one? What's behind him? There's really nothing behind him. Cam Smith, they took in the second round a couple years ago. Miami to take a corner. Plus 210 on FanDuel as their first pick. This could be the Will Johnson spot where he stops.
I've seen that a lot.
Actually, a great fit for Barron as well, right? Because some teams, Barron specific, as Connor mentioned, he used to play safety. He could become more of a nickel slot guy. They could very much use him there. Their safety room kind of sucks too. He could almost be a perfect fit for them where they could kind of use him in a hybrid role. So, I don't feel like they're, based on the player, a single out where they can only be a Johnson team and Barron's off the board if Johnson goes out at him. I think they have 2 outs. They need to add a corner. We're getting 2-1 odds on it on FanDuel.
Okay. D-Bro, your thoughts here on Ryan's pick for Miami, and then please round us out with your final selection of the night as well.
I love it, man. I think it's a really, really sharp bet because, you're looking at the 2 glaring needs for the Dolphins. It's O-line and his corner, and the fact that I think that both of these should be really, really close as far as odds. And we're getting some separation there. Yeah. I love that. Love that all day, man.
Yeah. And look, offensive line's still a need real quick. Sorry to but they,
No, you're good. But they could address that later too, depending on
and they brought in James Daniels and they drafted Patrick Paul last year in the second round, knowing that they had Armstead's retirement coming, right? So the Armstead news wasn't news to Miami. They still have a need there, but it wasn't catching them off guard. Now they have this giant hole. So I do think, again, it's a need for them. But not more than corner to me, where I'm sitting here and we're getting 2-1.
Big agree. Absolutely agree with that, Noonan. I'm going to go take the, not necessarily the Howie approach, but I think that the Los Angeles Rams could address a need right now in the draft, considering where they sit. That's not necessarily a need when you look at the depth chart through the first pass. But for a team that has had issues keeping their offensive line, and this is true last year, it's been true for multiple years in previous seasons, where the Los Angeles Rams have had issues keeping their offensive line healthy year after year after year. We can just talk about last year, multiple injuries. This is exactly why Bo Limmer got a chance to start and play while he's going to be projected as the starting center this year. But we can go not too far in the past where it's their tackles have been just decimated. Havenstein's not getting any younger. He's a free agent. Yes, they brought back Alaric Jackson. But considering where they sit in the draft, where this roster sits, I think you're looking at a roster that probably their 2 biggest needs, looking at our corner and their offensive line quietly, because you could look at the offensive line and say, okay, but it looks good, but the depth is a problem. And considering what we've seen the Rams go through the last few years, and they know if they're going to go anywhere this year, they got to keep Matthew Stafford upright and healthy. And the way you do that is by increasing your depth and protecting yourself, getting 1 year ahead of Havenstein probably being gone. And then next year you're walking into saying, holy crap, we really need to draft an offensive tackle. Well, considering you're sitting at 26th, you could do that this year and in a multitude of ways. I mean, like right where they're at, they could take Josh Simmons. Maybe they take a guy in the set that has a second round grade, and they get the versatility of somebody like Donovan Jackson. Josh Connerly is also in that. But so you line this up for multiple spots. Havenstein not getting any younger, them having issues with tons of injuries on the O-line, knowing that they have to protect their veteran quarterback, as well as getting 1 year ahead of it. I just think this is a great fit. And if I'm getting plus odds, like plus 300 on DK for the Rams to take an offensive lineman round 1, yeah, dude, I'm taking that all day.
Well, with how much they hit on the defensive side of the ball last year up front in the trenches, hitting on Fisk in the second round and then in the first round as well. Like they're stacked there. They should be good. And I do agree, offensive line, definitely a need and a concern for the Rams. Ryan and Connor, thank you guys both so much for joining us. Can you please let the Fantasy Pros family know how they can best find and support your guys' work throughout the rest of the pre-draft process and also the post-draft process?
Appreciate that. Move the Line. It's our podcast. We'll be ramping it up this week.
Show.
I think we're going to do 3 episodes this week, depending on when you're listening. So tune in on Monday. Again, Move the Line, where we listen to the podcast. 4for4 Bets on the YouTube channel. 4for4.com if you want to get the subscription, get in the Discord, get all of our official plays, and read all the mock drafts.
Heck yeah. Anything else from you guys over there at 4for4 that I should keep an eye out for, Connor?
We got a lot more official bets coming. That would be the big thing. So, we talked about a bunch of different bets today, but, as we start to become more certain on different things, again, not afraid to lay some juice there because, something that should be minus 300, but is actually just a done deal is technically minus infinity. So, whatever you can get down on it, is just get down on it.
All right, perfect. Well, that's going to do it for us today on the Betting Pros podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I'll have my full NFL draft betting card out on Twitter later today and a YouTube short, my best bets, coming later this week on the BP YouTube channel. Again, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the Betting Pros podcast and the YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to download that BP app and sync your sportsbooks today. For Derek Brown, Connor Allen, and Ryan Noonan, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.